سيدني وتحديداً من أمام مبنى الوزارة بحييكم. اليوم بحلقتنا رح نتعرف على شخصية سياسية أسترالية من أصل لبناني، الوزير جون عجقة، وزير لحقبات عديدة منها الشباب والعجزة وذوي الاحتياجات الخاصة. خلينا نتعرف عليه من قريب ببروفايل. Mr. John Ajaka, thank you for receiving us in your offices in Sydney. Thank you for your time, because I know how busy you are. You are the Minister of Aging, Youth, Disability Services, and
volunteering and multiculturalism.
It's so many tasks, and I always wonder how you can really manage all of that. You were born here in Sydney.
Correct, in 1956.
In 1956, when your father, George Ajaka, immigrated in the 1950s.
Correct.
Tell us more about your childhood, knowing you have two sisters and two brothers. And how was it? And I know that you speak a bit of Arabic. Tell us more about it.
Look, thank you very much, and look, it's lovely of you to come and give me this opportunity to give a little bit of an insight into my life and what occurs in government here in New South Wales. My father came in 1950 on his own, leaving my mother and older brother and sister in Lebanon. Some years later, he was able to bring them to Sydney, and then I was born in 1956 here. I had a great childhood. I mean, being a middle child, of course, is always interesting with older brother and sister and younger brother and sister, but we had a great opportunity of being able to spend an enormous time with family, friends, with relatives, in a very diverse Lebanese and Australian way of life. And I was very fortunate that my parents showed us and taught us the best of both worlds, if I could use that expression.
Yes, indeed. You were the firstborn, Ajaka.
Correct.
In Australia.
Correct.
And now you are a big family with cousins and relatives. Did you adapt to the Australian society, as we know that it is really the country where we can find more than 200 different nationalities?
Look, absolutely. I mean, there were difficulties at times, especially growing up. Sometimes there was confusion in one's identity. Am I Australian? Am I Lebanese? But the reality is, as I got older, I suddenly realised that you can be both, and that you can look at the best parts of both and bring it together. And that's what's so wonderful about our country in Australia. We come from over 245 different birthplaces. We speak over 200 languages. We practice 125 different religious beliefs, and yet we do so in the most harmonious way as one country, one community, and in many ways as one family.
Yeah. You went to the Marist Brothers School and then to Sydney University to get your degree in law.
Correct.
Why did you choose law?
That's an interesting question, because of all the choices I had, that was my last choice. But as a young boy growing up, from when I can remember, my mother kept telling everyone I was going to be a lawyer. My mother insisted I was going to be a lawyer. And as everyone on your program would know, you don't argue with the Lebanese mother. So the reality for me was there was no choice. It was law. And I'm thrilled that I did law, because I was able to practice as a lawyer for a very considerable period of time before I entered politics, and it's something I've always loved and cherished, that opportunity to be able to help clients with their legal problems.
Yeah. And what do you remember from your parents' education to you, especially that you were raised in Australia but by two Lebanese parents?
My mother was, I'm going to use the word obsessed, because there is no other way. My mother was obsessed with education for her children. You know, Mum believed that the only reason that they came to Australia was to give their children a better life. They gave up everything they had in Lebanon for their children. So to her, if we didn't take advantage of the education in this country, take advantage of becoming professionals and a better way of life, then in many ways their sacrifices were for nothing. So she really instilled in us that we had to focus on our education, and all of my brothers and sisters did, and all of us went into one profession or another.
So you were the only one to choose being a lawyer. Your brothers and sisters chose different professions.
They chose more the science field, so they were either on the medicine side of science or the engineering side of science. I hated science. It was an area that I wanted nothing to do with. So I was more into the literature and the history. So ultimately, law was a perfect fit for me.
And they all succeeded as you did?
In
their fields.
They're all very successful in their fields, and you know they obviously have beautiful families, and all of their children have either completed university or on their way to completing university. So I'm very proud of my brothers, my sisters. I'm very proud of my nephews and nieces.
Nice to know, and we will talk about your really very successful career, but after this break. سيدني وضواحيها بتحتوي على أكثر من 20% من مجمع سكان أستراليا، يعني تقريباً 4.5 مليون نسمة، وبتحتوي على جمعيات مختلفة إثنية وثقافية، منها الجالية اللبنانية والجالية الإيطالية والجالية الصينية والبريطانية.
It was a dream of mine to have my own law firm. It was probably more my mother's dream.
Is it because you are from Lebanese roots?
There were no barriers for me, and there should be no barriers for anybody.
الوزير جون عجقة شخصية مميزة جدا، وهو أول شخص من بيت عجقة ولد بأستراليا وتربى بمجتمع متعدد الحضارات، ولكن ما نسي أصوله اللبنانية لأنه أهله ربوه على التقاليد وطنهم. ومنشوف كيف من صغره حب يكون محامي وكان عنده أكيد طموحات سياسية.
When I first heard that I was going to be interviewed by this wonderful program, I must say I was a bit nervous. And the reason I was nervous is, of course, I don't want to disappoint. I did not want to give the wrong impression of what is occurring here in Australia and what is occurring with, of course, the Australian Lebanese community and how much they've achieved.
You worked as a lawyer until you established your own law firm in 1982.
Correct.
Why did you decide to open your own law firm?
I wanted to be able to assist my clients and advise my clients the way I felt was appropriate. I didn't like being constrained or controlled by what the law firm wanted as an employee. It was a dream of mine to have my own law firm. It was probably more my mother's dream to have my own law firm, as you would appreciate. But it gave me the opportunity to be able to assist those clients I wanted to assist. And many of those clients, of course, came from a Lebanese background. So it was a lovely opportunity to be able to do that.
Yeah. And then in 2007, you closed your law firm because you were elected a member of the parliament.
Correct.
For the Liberal Party.
Correct.
was these ambitions really anchored in you from your childhood?
Very much so. When I was 15 years of age, my father became involved in the Liberal Party, and he actually ran as a candidate to be elected to the Parliament, but sadly he failed. He did not succeed. So in a sense, I had a taste of it, and something that I wanted to do, and something I was encouraged to do. I probably started...
You were encouraged by your parents or your friends or your family?
I was encouraged probably by my parents first, my family, my friends, but it became more something that I really wanted to do. But I needed to finish my law career, if I could say that. I needed to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish as a lawyer. So compared to many politicians, I started a little late in life. I was 51 years of age when I was elected to the Parliament, and have been there for the last 9 years, and something that I'm very honoured and privileged to be in that position.
I know that the Australian political system is totally different from ours in Lebanon. Can you explain more about it? Because as I noticed that you should be a member of the Parliament before being a minister.
Correct.
Or a premier, and
Correct.
you should stay a member of the Parliament until you resign.
Correct. It's correct. My understanding of Lebanon is you follow very much the French civil code, whereas of course we follow very much the English Westminster system. So we have two houses of Parliament, we have an upper house and a lower house, but you must be elected by the people of your state or by the country if it's a federal parliament, and only a member of Parliament can be appointed as a minister to cabinet. Only a member of Parliament who is the leader of the party can be the premier when that party is in government. So that is something that's very important. If you cease to be a member of Parliament, you cease to be a minister. There is no way around that.
Yeah. And what are your achievements as a member of Parliament before, of course, being nominated as a minister?
I was very thrilled that I first had the opportunity to sit on a number of committees. I had an opportunity to chair a number of committees where some very good work was undertaken in some vital areas, whether it was children and young people, whether it was the area of adoption, whether it was the area of transport. When we went into government in 2011, I was made a parliamentary secretary. That's the equivalent of an assistant minister. So I became parliamentary secretary for roads, transport and maritime. So it gave me an opportunity to do some extensive work. But the honour for me was in August 2013 when I was appointed a minister.
Yeah. So you were nominated in 2013 Minister of Ageing and Youth and
Disability Services
and volunteering, and so many beautiful titles. Of course, you were happy and proud.
Yes.
But were you worried about all the major responsibilities you were facing?
It's a great question. Can I tell you, sadly, my father passed away before I became a minister. So my father saw me as a member of Parliament. But he would, on many occasions, tell me that his dream was to see me a minister one day. So when I was commissioned as a minister in Government House, it was a huge thrill for me to have my mother there, to have my wife there, to have my 6 daughters with me, seeing me receive my commission as a minister. Can I tell you, at the same time, of course I was nervous. I was very nervous because it's that extra responsibility, those huge responsibilities of looking after some of our most vulnerable within our state, you know, our seniors, people with disability, our youth. But I'm very fortunate to be part of a very good government that allows me to undertake those programs and those policies that I believe in, that I see will benefit all of the people of New South Wales.
Of course, we are proud of you because you're the first member of Parliament of Lebanese descent in the Liberal Party and minister afterwards. What do you think about being an Australian of Lebanese descent in this position?
It's a huge honour for me, and at the same time, being, for example, Minister for Multiculturalism, where it's my responsibility to ensure that we maintain harmony between all of the different cultural and ethnic groups within New South Wales. Coming from a Lebanese background assists me with that. It gives me an understanding of that. But I guess the most important aspect of it is it also gives me an opportunity as a minister to meet so many Australians of Lebanese background who have not only been incredibly successful in this country, but have made huge contributions to this country.
Beautiful.
We have assisted so many vulnerable groups over many, many decades, and I see that firsthand now, and I have great pride in that.
Yeah, yes. What are the greatest achievements you did for disabled people first, then for old people, and for volunteers? Please.
Look, I'm very proud, and when it comes to the area of people with disability and the services provided, in this state, in this country, we're going through one of the biggest social reforms ever. We are ensuring that the funding that's needed for people with disability for the services is actually paid direct to them. So they have choice and control over their lives. They get to choose what the services they want when they want. We also have undertaken enormous work through pieces of legislation that I've been proud to bring into Parliament that allows people with disability to be more inclusive within their communities.
And they can have a position?
Absolutely. And we want to, as far as I'm concerned, irrespective of your abilities, irrespective if you have a disability, irrespective of your age, irrespective of your gender, irrespective of your ethnic backgrounds and your religious backgrounds, there should be no obstacles to you. You should be allowed to undertake any road that you want to walk. You should be in a position to be able to achieve what you want to achieve. There should never be any barriers. And there were no barriers for me, and there should be no barriers for anybody.
Beautiful, because we cannot find in Lebanon and many other countries a ministry for disabled people. And this is beautiful, really.
I love Australia, and I love what we do in Australia. I love the state of New South Wales, and I love what we do. We have a government, as in past governments, that truly believes that we should always look after our vulnerable. We should always assist those. So ensuring that people with disability, ensuring that our seniors have all of the services available to them to give them a full and inclusive life is something that is very important to all of us, and I'm proud to be the minister to ensure that that is occurring.
Yeah, and for the youth, because it's the new generation, are you involved in education? Are you involved in sports?
So with our ministry, for example, we have a Minister for Education, my very good friend Adrian Piccoli. Okay. So he's responsible for the education. We have a Minister for Sport, my very good friend Stuart Ayres. He is the Minister for Sport.
So what is your...
But as the Minister for Youth, again, I need to ensure that the paths are available for our young people, that there are no barriers, that we assist our young people to achieve the dreams that they want to achieve, that we help them in relation. So we've brought out quite a number of strategies for our young people. We even have an advocate who is there to represent the interests of children and young people, who assists by providing advice to me. We even have a young board of young people who come together as an advisory board to assist to give me a grassroots level. Of course, I have 6 daughters who make sure they tell me exactly what young people need.
This experience at home, but it's so beautiful. When you're talking about that, we see how Australia is really giving all attention at all levels. I mean, the youth, the old, the disabled, the volunteers, because in Lebanon we have a lot of association and we work as volunteers, but we don't have a ministry for that.
Yes.
So how do you help the volunteers?
One of the things I wanted to do when I first became Minister for Volunteering is I went around the state to speak to many of our volunteering organisations. And we did a little bit of study and a bit of research, of course, and we discovered that of the volunteers we know about, if someone had to pay them for all of the time and effort that they put in, you're talking $5 billion a year just in our state of New South Wales. And the figure would even be much higher because there's so many. So it was important as a government that we not only recognise our volunteers and acknowledge them, but I believe that we also need to assist them. How can we assist our volunteers to be able to provide more time, more effort, more resources? And so we brought out a volunteering strategy to work with volunteers, to work with organisations to open the doors for more volunteers.
Of course. And what are your future projects?
Look, for me, events
that you are preparing?
For me, one of the most important aspects is to complete the transition for people with disability under what we call the NDIS, the National Disability Insurance Scheme. I need to ensure that we transition all of our people with disability over the next 18 months. That's one of my largest projects. I also want to ensure that our youth are taking the right path. You know, like so many countries, we do have issues of having to counter violent extremism amongst a very small minority of our youth. So we've implemented a number of programs to ensure that our youth are shown the right path, that our youth are not influenced by evil, not influenced by those who want to bring evil into their lives. So that's something we're working on very extensively. We're also assisting our seniors to live a healthy, active life. We assist them with concessions, we assist them with programs that will think. One of my favourite programs, because I noticed you're holding an iPad, one of our favourite programs is to teach our seniors how to become computer literate.
Beautiful.
So we run tech-savvy programs for seniors, especially those from an overseas community, so that once they master their computers, once they master their phones, once they master their iPads, they're able to communicate not only with family around Australia,
friends all over,
but they can communicate with their family in Lebanon. They can communicate with family and relatives all over the world.
And how do you manage all these tasks? Minister Ajaka, is it because you are from Lebanese roots?
You know, the name Ajaka, Ajaka, so everyone from the Ajaka family, كلنا من عجة a lot. So I think that helps that I can ajja and I'm very hyperactive. But at the same time, I have a fantastic team. You've met some of my team.
Of course.
So I've got a fantastic team that work with me. In my inner office, I have a great team of 15 people. In my agencies and my departments, I have a fantastic team of 15,000 people who assist me. So like all things, nothing can be achieved by one individual.
Yes,
it's achieved by a great team.
Yeah, indeed. We will see how successful you are also as a father with your 6 daughters, but after this break.
Thank you.
سيدني هي أول مستعمرة بريطانية بأستراليا، أنشئت سنة 1788 وبتستقطب أكثر من 10 ملايين زائر سنوياً، وهي عاصمة ساوث نيو ويلز وعاصمة أستراليا للتكنولوجيا والاتصالات والمعلوماتية.
It's very important that I also continue to teach my daughters about their heritage.
And how was it to live more than maybe 30 years with only females in your house?
Take the best of the Australian culture, take the best of the Lebanese culture, and that makes you the person you are.
اللي لفت لي نظري بالوزير جون عجقة هي مسيرته المهنية وخاصة السياسية، فهو وزير لعدة حقبات، منا الشباب، منا ذوي الاحتياجات الخاصة، منا المتطوعين، منا العجزة وإلى آخره، وعم بيقدر يتحمل كل هالمسؤوليات وينجح فيها، وإنجازاته كتير كبيرة، وأكيد لأنه أصله لبناني إذا حب وعنده شغف للشغل اللي عم بيعمله بينجح فيه للآخر.
I must say, when the interview was concluded, I was very pleased because it did give a really good opportunity for me to explain all of the wonderful things that are occurring here in New South Wales, in Australia, in particular in relation to my portfolios of ageing, disability, youth, multiculturalism and volunteering. And I also say that the host of the program made me feel very comfortable with the questions that were being asked and the way she was able to assist me in bringing out the information.
Minister Ajaka, you are married to Mary, and she's Lebanese.
Yes.
And how did you meet?
We met in an interesting way through her brother, who was a client of mine as a lawyer. So what's interesting, of course, is that she comes from the north of Lebanon, Karm el-Mehr.
Yeah.
I come from the extreme
south.
south from Yaroun. She's a Maronite and I'm a Melkite. So you can imagine how her father reacted, that not only was I from the south of Lebanon, I was a Melkite. But we met, we've been married now for quite a number of years, and she's an extraordinary woman, and I owe much of my success by having the right woman behind me.
It's beautiful. So she supported you in your
Enormously.
career.
Yes. And it's interesting because although I was more on the law and more on the politics side, she's more on the style side and fashion side and hair. She's a makeup and hair stylist for a very large television channel.
Beautiful. So she added some colors.
Absolutely.
To your political career.
Very much so. Yeah. Very much so. Whenever she's a very beautiful, amazing woman, and when people meet her, they can't believe that she married me.
I'm sure she has the right reasons.
Thank you.
You have 6 beautiful daughters.
Correct.
And I'm sure you should be a very lucky dad. When you were dad for the first time,
yes,
for your eldest daughter, what kind of emotions did you encounter? Were you did you fear your new responsibilities? You were happy?
Look, obviously very happy, very excited, a great life, very scared, very terrified. Holding her for the very first time was a very difficult aspect. Fortunately, my mother was around to help me with this. But, you know, for me, each and every one of the girls is a huge blessing. Each and every one of the girls doing very well in their life. My 2 youngest are still at school. The others are either at university or have commenced their careers. But I'm also very blessed that one of them is married and I now have a grandson. So finally I have an understanding of young boys growing up.
And how was it to live more than maybe 30 years with only females in your house?
You know, sometimes I would say to my wife when I came home and they were all at home and my mother'd be there, my sisters would be, my wife's sisters would be there. I was so blessed that sometimes I would cry. But the reality for me was the girls are amazing and I'm very proud of them and they do look after me. This is the one
this is
great
the most
aspect.
important,
you know, I've been the man in their life for a very long period of time. And now, of course, they have, one has a husband and the other 5 have a brother-in-law. They now have a nephew.
So you'll have 6 son-in-law and you said you have a grandson. Do you get along together? Do you have time to see him, to see your daughters?
That's the difficult part. The difficult part is finding time. If I've let them down in any way, I've let them down that they don't have enough time with me. So I try to focus on the quality of the time instead of the quantity. I try to focus on being there for them definitely when they need me, and at the same time ensuring that when we are together that we're doing something real, something that brings value to their life. So yesterday was Grandparents' Day in New South Wales, and I'm the minister responsible for Grandparents' Day. So we're able to celebrate the day together with my grandson and many other grandparents at Parramatta Park, and that was a very huge occasion for me that we could all do that together.
Yeah, and I'm sure they are proud of you.
Thank you. They are. They tell me they are.
Yeah. And how did you educate them? The same way your dad educated you, or you educated them more the Australian way?
Just as my parents taught me about my heritage, it's very important that I also continue to teach my daughters about their heritage. I wanted them to know where they come from. I wanted them to understand who their grandparents were. I wanted them to understand who their great-grandparents were and all that was achieved in the family in the old days and what's the values and lessons of today. But most importantly, the one lesson I learned from my parents was take the best of both cultures. Take the best of the Australian culture, take the best of the Lebanese culture, and that makes you the person you are. You know, at the same time, I want them to be very proud of who they are and where they came from. This is important because this helps mould the character that they will be.
Yeah, and did they visit Lebanon?
The older ones have. The two youngest have not been to Lebanon. My fault. Each time I go to Lebanon promising to take them, I end up going on my own. But I'm hoping next year in June, July of next year, I'm going to take the whole family over.
Yeah, I think you should. Anyways, we will be talking about Lebanon that you visited many times, but after this break.
Thank you.
أكبر تشاينا تاون بأستراليا موجود بسيدني وتعمر سنة 1920. بيحتوي على مطاعم ومحلات عديدة جدا. بيستقطب كل المهرجانات الصينية السنوية.
We're also able to explain the great work that's being undertaken from a trade and investment perspective between Australian of Lebanese background here and of course with Lebanon over there.
And I hope that you will buy a house or a land and start investing a bit.
That I have an obligation and a responsibility to take all 6 daughters to Lebanon.
حبيت قد ايه الوزير جون عجقة بي حنون، وكل ما يحكي عن زوجته او بناته الستة بيحكي بابتسامة وبكل محبة وكل تقدير للمرأة اللي موجودة ببيته إن كان زوجته أو بناته. ومنلاقي كيف لو ما عنده وقت بكرس شيء اسمه quality time معهم ليقدر يسمع لهم، يشوف شو حاجاتهم وعطيهم حرية ينقوا الشيء اللي بيحبوه وينجحوا فيه كمان. وهذا شيء كتير حلو وربيهم، يعني جرب يربيهم. هذا شيء ملفت مثل ما ربوه أهله، يعني حسب كمان التقاليد اللبنانية.
For me, the message that I wanted to bring across to all of our family in Lebanon is that here in Australia you should be very proud of the achievements those of us from a Lebanese background have achieved. We also want you to understand that our homes are open to you anytime you wish to visit us and that we are here for you and for Lebanon. At the same time, we want to send the message that you have a responsibility to keep Lebanon open for all of us when we come to visit you. That you have a responsibility to ensure that Lebanon is a safe and harmonious place, just as we have a responsibility to ensure that Australia is a safe and harmonious place.
Minister Ajaka, I know that you have visited Lebanon many times. The first time you were only 27 years old, and the last time, a few years ago.
Correct.
As a member of parliament, just
Correct.
a few months before you were elected minister.
Correct.
What did you feel when you first landed in Lebanon?
Interestingly, the first time I went to Lebanon, I was 27 years of age, a single man. And even the very last time I went to Lebanon, the feeling is the same. I can't explain how wonderful I feel when I step off the plane, when I have that wonderful opportunity to meet my cousins, to have that opportunity to go to the home of my grandparents.
In Yarou.
And in Yarou, and to feel all of that is something fantastic. On the last occasion, I went with the Premier. I wasn't yet a minister, but I was a very proud Member of Parliament. I went with other Australians of Lebanese background, Tony Issa, I went also with Thomas George, and it was just a thrill for us to be there as 3 Australians of Lebanese background as members of Parliament, meeting all of the other Lebanese and being able to explain to them what is happening in Australia and how proud we are of the Lebanese community in Australia.
And did you do some projects together? Because you went with the officials, I mean.
We met many of the members of Parliament. We were able to sign a number of memorandum of understanding. We were also able to explain the great work that's being undertaken from a trade and investment perspective between Australian of Lebanese background here and, of course, with Lebanon over there. These are the things we wanted to continually to encourage and to enhance on.
Yeah. I guess you don't have a house anymore in your
Personally,
village.
I don't have a property, but for example, my uncle still owns my grandfather's home and I get to visit that. But for me, when I go to Lebanon, you might as well say I have 200 homes in Lebanon.
Yeah,
every relative opens their home for us.
Everyone welcome.
The problem is deciding which relative to go, because once you choose one, you upset the other 200 by not staying with them.
This is purely Lebanese. If you have to give a promise to all the Lebanese and to Lebanon and to achieve it from my show, what will your promise be?
That I have an obligation and a responsibility to take all 6 daughters to Lebanon. And I make a promise that within the next 12 months, I will visit Lebanon with my family, because it is important for the family to know where their father came from, where their mother came from. It's important for them to also see their grandparents' home, for them to understand their culture and their history.
Yeah, so you will take your family to Lebanon, and I hope that you will buy a house or a land and start investing a bit because, you know, successful people like you, we need them in Lebanon. A last word you would like to say to all Lebanese viewers?
Please be proud of all of the Lebanese living in Australia. And don't think for one moment that we forget you, and don't think for one moment that we're not here for you as well. Beautiful. And just as you keep asking us to visit you, you too should come and visit us. But please look after Lebanon. For all of us living here, it sometimes saddens us when we see the conflict and turmoil over there. We work hard here to keep harmony within this great country, and we want you to work hard to keep harmony in Lebanon, because it is also your responsibility to have Lebanon there for all Lebanese, irrespective of where they live. So we need to feel comfortable to be able to send our families to visit you.
Beautiful. Hope your message will lead to all the solutions you are talking about. Minister Ajaka, thank you again.
Thank
you for this beautiful interview, for your time, and good luck for all your tasks.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and I wish you all the very best. And I wish everyone in Lebanon the very best. Thank you.
Thank you. عرفنا الليلة بحلقتنا على شخصية سياسية أسترالية من أصل لبناني، الوزير جون عجقة، وزير لحقبات عديدة حقق فيها إنجازات كثيرة غيرت بمسيرة الحكومة الأسترالية. إذا بدكم تعرفوا أكثر عن هالحلقة أو عن الوزير جون عجقة، ما تنسوا تتابعونا على مواقع التواصل الاجتماعي. وما تنسوا تتابعونا الأسبوع القادم بنفس الوقت تكتشفوا اسم جديد من أسماء متتابعة.